Hey guys, today I want to take a look at the most likely scenario, the most likely matchup for the 2024 presidential election. That is, you have Vice President Kamala as the incumbent vice president taking that Democratic nomination and running against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So right now, the betting odds for the 2024 GOP nomination, Ron DeSantis currently is in second place, just right under Donald Trump. But this is day-to-day trends. The trends change every single minute, basically. And if you look at the actual graph here, Ron DeSantis has been leading over Donald Trump for the past 2 days, and the numbers will keep going up and down throughout the next couple of hours. As you can see, the numbers have been going up and down between both Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. So taking a look at the Democratic nomination here, Kamala Harris is still the number one candidate, and it's really been this way for a very, very long time. Kamala Harris has essentially been on top for a while. However, Biden's lead did shoot up when at his first press conference, he did say that he does expect to run in 2024, that is his expectation, but that's just something he's going to say. Doesn't mean he's going to run, because he does not want to become a lame duck president that quickly. So Joe Biden is going to keep saying he's going to run until he can, but he's not going to announce anything if he's really not planning on running. So Kamala Harris is at 39 cents per share, and he has been leading throughout this entire election cycle. So I'm going to start off by filling in the solid states for both Ron DeSantis and Kamala Harris. I do think Ron DeSantis will do better in Montana, which is why I'm giving him Montana as a solid state. Many of these other states that I think will definitely go to Ron DeSantis, I don't think he's going to win with this most solid of margins. So I'm going to give him all of Nebraska as solid as well. While for Kamala Harris, I have all of the West Coast, is her home state of California, of course, is going to be solid. The state of Hawaii, Illinois, and then most of the Northeast here, all going to be very solid for the incumbent vice president. So all these states going to vote for Kamala Harris, and so that will give her 180 electoral votes from her solid states to just 79 from the solid states for Ron DeSantis. And these are states that, Biden won by solid margins in all of them in. And then for Ron DeSantis, many of them Trump won by solid margins. I don't have Mississippi nor Missouri as solid states, nor the state of Indiana. And this is just because in states like Indiana, he had Mike Pence running alongside him. I think that definitely with Ron DeSantis on the ticket and Mike Pence not being there, I think that Mike Pence really had a huge effect on Trump's large victory in Indiana in both 2016 and 2020. So without Mike Pence on the ticket, I think Republicans are going to be a little weaker there in the state of Indiana, but still definitely a state that will go red in this election. Kansas and Missouri are as well going to be pretty close. Kansas was only 14.7% for Donald Trump, Missouri just 15.4%, so barely a solid margin. But for Ron DeSantis, I think he will perform a little bit under that, so Kansas, Missouri are likely, and same thing for Mississippi, which was just a 16-point margin for Donald Trump. So you have a likely state here in the southern United States. We also have two more likely states, the states of South Carolina and Alaska. These two states, I think, will all be going to Ron DeSantis. Alaska, the margin is probably going to go up a little bit. Donald Trump really did not do too well there in 2020, only won by 10%. In Alaska in the future, it's really expected to become a swing state, become a battleground state, although I doubt people will really care about it that much. It will start to become more and more competitive. This state really is not as red as it used to be. You can go back to 2004. George Bush won it by 25%, even under, into 1996, when Bill Clinton won 379 electoral votes, Alaska was still more solid for Bob Dole than it was for Donald Trump in 2020. So definitely, the state of Alaska is becoming less and less of a GOP stronghold, and so that is why I have Alaska as another likely state. And there's one more on this map that I really would not consider as as a likely state like the other ones. I think these states, there's really no doubt they will be going to Ron DeSantis. But the final one is Iowa. I think Iowa under Ron DeSantis will remain a likely state. I think this one is a little bit different because of how close it was, just a couple of years ago. 2012, this was an Obama state, and 2008, and this state used to be a pretty reliable swing state. However, after 2016, after Donald Trump, Republicans have been doing better and better here. Joni Ernst won her re-election here by over 7 percentage points. So I think Ron DeSantis in 2024, with this state shifting more and more to the right and having a really small African-American population, which will definitely benefit Kamala Harris, I do think that in the state of Iowa, it will go to Ron DeSantis by a likely margin. So this gives him now 130 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has quite a few likely states as well, starting off with the states of Colorado and New Mexico. I think these two states will definitely be going to her. Colorado and New Mexico, they were likely for Joe Biden. 10% and 13.5%. I think definitely Kamala Harris will do worse than Joe Biden's margins here from 2020, but I don't think it'll be that much of a difference. I think around 1 to 2% worse for Kamala Harris should be expected out of these two states. They have quite a minimal African American population, which again is the demographic that really benefits Kamala Harris the most. So I think definitely that these states are going to remain Democratic states. Another likely Democratic state is the state of Virginia. This really is one of the last ones I can give them, and Maine. So Maine is going to be likely. It was likely in 2020, 9%. I don't see it changing that much. And then the state of Virginia, 13 electoral votes. This will be another likely state. This state was, of course, only lean under Hillary Clinton when Tim Kaine, her running mate, was from the state. She only won it by 5%, but Joe Biden won in 2020 by 10.1%. That vote in Northern Virginia is really shifting more and more to the left, and that's why in Virginia, every time on election night, you see Republicans leading, but they always project it for the Democrats, because Democrats really only get votes in Virginia, in Northern Virginia, in this really northern area near DC up here, while basically all of Southern Virginia, this was basically all going to be very, very red. I mean, this was where the Confederacy, the capital was, so Virginia has been red for a very long time, but over the last couple of decades, it has shifted more and more blue, after, of course, Barack Obama won in 2008 by 6%. Previously, of course, this was a Bush state by 8.2%. So definitely Virginia has become pretty much a Democratic stronghold at this point, giving Kamala Harris 13 electoral votes. So this puts Harris up at 210 and Ron DeSantis at 130. Now, before we continue, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. We also have a pretty cool mock government on there, so make sure you join all of that if you have not. Now, before we go any further on this map here, I want to take a look at the favorability of Kamala Harris. She currently has a 7.6% favorability rating in the positives. I think this is definitely not bad. It's definitely better than Mike Pence's, better than Donald Trump's, better than basically every single major political leader right now in the country that is a national figure, except for Joe Biden. The only person that Kamala Harris is really less favorable than is Joe Biden. Joe Biden, of course, has a plus 15% approval rating, while Kamala Harris's favorability sits at 7.6%. So I think this is definitely a strong one. It's stronger than Hillary Clinton's. It's better than Ron DeSantis's as well. But I think that there's definitely room for improvement. She's definitely clearly the less popular out of the two between herself and Joe Biden. I think that she did help definitely with the 2020 election. I think that she was definitely one of the best running mates they could have chosen, considering everything that was happening at the time with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that for Kamala Harris. But I think that she could be a little bit more popular, and her popularity I don't think would affect it too much. I think that it's a very average approval rating right now. So this gives Kamala Harris 210 electoral votes, and I'm going to expand on that by going through her lean states, the states of Minnesota as well as New Hampshire. So these two states, really, in Minnesota and New Hampshire, they were really slight margins under Hillary Clinton in 2016. I mean, 4 years ago, Minnesota went to Clinton by just 1.5%. Yes, a Democrat won the state of Minnesota, the state with the largest Democratic voting streak in history. The last time it voted for a Republican was in the 70s. It was the only state that did not go to Ronald Reagan. It went to Walter Mondale by, I believe, 0.13% for Minnesota, while in the state of New Hampshire, it was a 0.37% margin for Hillary Clinton. I mean, go back to 2012, Minnesota was 7% for Obama, and New Hampshire was 5% for Obama. So Joe Biden actually did better than Obama in New Hampshire in 2020. He won New Hampshire by 7.4%, and then Minnesota by 7.1%. There's no way that Kamala Harris wins by that same margin or a larger margin. It's going to go under 7%, but I don't see it going under 7% by that much, which is why I still have these states in the Kamala Harris column with a lean margin. So that's going to be 223 electoral votes, and the final state I can give her from the lean category here is the state of Michigan. I do think that Michigan will go to Kamala Harris with a lean margin. I think she can hold on to that 2% margin. I think the African American vote is definitely going to turn out for her. I think she'll definitely be able to get that vote out, which I think is going to help her in many ways in 2024. So this will give her 238 electoral votes. And then as for Ron DeSantis, I'm going to start off with his home state of Florida. Florida is going to be a lean state. There's no doubt about that. I think if Ron DeSantis is on the ticket, he's the governor of the state. He's very likely to win his re-election in 2022. He won his first election in 2018, I believe. The margin was not that great in 2018 for Ron DeSantis. It was a pretty small margin, but he was still able to pull that off and win governor of Florida. And he's pretty much expected to win a re-election in 2022 in the state. 31 electoral votes definitely will be a big prize for Ron DeSantis. I can see him definitely doing better than Donald Trump. He's from the state. Trump won the state by 3.4% in 2020. In 2016, he won it by just 1.2%. So Florida was really the only state that Trump actually did better in. I don't think I can find a single other area in which Donald Trump did better in 2020 than he did in 2016. I mean, everything else he did better than in 2016. I mean, look at these margins. Georgia was 5.1% for Donald Trump. It went to a blue state for Biden by 0.23%. So I believe Florida was the only state in which Trump actually did better in 2024. So, no, in 2020, not 2024. So Trump did better in Florida, and I believe Hawaii as well was another state in which Donald Trump increased his margin in, but that's just so solid that it really doesn't even matter. So this will be definitely a state that would go to Ron DeSantis. Texas as well. I have Texas as another lean state for Ron DeSantis. I do see Ron DeSantis being able to do actually a little bit better than Donald Trump in 2016. Trump only won the state by 5.6%, and his 38 electoral votes is getting harder and harder for Republicans to win here. You look back at just 2012, this was 16% for Mitt Romney. So definitely Texas is not the same as it used to be, but I think that Ron DeSantis will be able to do okay here. I don't think he'll improve the margin by that much or decrease it by that much either, but I think that Democrats will continue to make progress in getting to flipping this state. I think the margin, I could see around 3 to 4% around that. So Texas will be another lean state for Ron DeSantis. It puts him over 200 electoral votes. And then one more I have is the state of Ohio and also the 2nd District of Maine. So the state of Ohio, I'm going to talk about this first. So Ohio, I think that Ron DeSantis will do all right here, but I do think that the larger African American population here will benefit Kamala Harris a little bit more. And I think that the margin, I mean, for Donald Trump has been pretty strong, won by 8%, but Ron DeSantis, again, is not Donald Trump. He does not have the appeal here in the Rust Belt. So I do think that in this area that Kamala Harris will do a little bit better than Joe Biden in Ohio, just because she's not running against Donald Trump. So this gives Kamala Harris 238 electoral votes again, and then Ron DeSantis now at 220. They're both pretty close at 270, but for the 2nd District of Maine, I just think that Kamala Harris is going to do a little bit worse than Joe Biden. And then for Kamala Harris, I also have the 2nd District of Nebraska. It's one electoral vote as a tilt area for Kamala Harris. So that's another one electoral vote for her, and the rest of these states are really going to be tilt states. I think that the election, again, is going to come out to essentially the same states. I mean, 2020, you had basically these same simple battleground states: Georgia, North Carolina, the 3 Rust Belt states, Nevada, and Arizona. So really, I don't think not much is going to change. The American electorate really does not change that much. It's really quite boring, but Nevada has been a 2.4% margin for Clinton in 2016, and for Joe Biden, it was a 2.4% margin once again. Remember, in 2008, this was 12% for Barack Obama. So definitely the Democrats have not been doing too well there recently, and I do think that Kamala Harris will still carry Nevada, but I think that Kamala Harris will definitely do a little bit worse there in carrying it by a tilt margin. So tilt state for the state of Nevada. So this will be 6 electoral votes for her. I also have her winning Pennsylvania by a tilt margin. I think that it will come down to a pretty close race in Pennsylvania. This is no longer the home state of one of the candidates. This was, of course, the state in which Joe Biden was born in. Kamala does not have that advantage, but I think that she'll still be able to pull off a victory there. Now, for Ron DeSantis, I have him winning the state of Arizona. I think Arizona will go to Ron DeSantis in this scenario. I think that Kamala Harris, being an African American and being chosen as Joe Biden's running mate, I think that really did doom Joe Biden with the Latino vote in Florida. I think a lot of them, and Arizona as well, they wanted Joe Biden to choose someone that was of Latino descent or Hispanic descent, and that did not happen, which is why, in Florida, there was, that huge shift away from Joe Biden with the Latino voters, and I think that definitely did not help him. But I think that Kamala Harris did help Joe Biden in states like Georgia. Obviously, there's a huge African American population there. I think that she definitely will be able to win Georgia in 2024 once again, and this gives her 280 electoral votes. I think, again, she'll be able to get out the African American vote in Georgia, just like Joe Biden was able to do in 2020, and that'll give her 280 electoral votes, although it's still going to be close in the state of Georgia. And then Ron DeSantis, I do have him winning in North Carolina. definitely another state for him. The margin, I think, is going to be really, really small. It was 1.3% for Trump, but I think that, the state of North Carolina, the last time it was won by a Democrat was 2008. Barack Obama wins North Carolina by 0.33%. I really think that this state really just has not been the same. It's just been going back and forth. I mean, it was won by Romney by 2, and then 2016 it was won by Trump by 3.7, and then in 2020 it was 1.3% for Donald Trump. So I think that it's still going to be a tilt state for Ron DeSantis, but I think that Kamala Harris may, improve and get that margin actually under 1% in 4 years. And then finally, the final state on this map I have going for Kamala Harris, and that is the state of Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin as a tilt state for the incumbent vice president. I think that she'll be able to do okay there, winning the state of Wisconsin by a tilt margin. This, of course, was just a 0.6% margin for Joe Biden, but again, Kamala Harris is not as strong of a candidate as Joe Biden, but nor is Ron DeSantis compared to Donald Trump, especially in the Rust Belt. So I think that definitely both these candidates, Biden and Trump, they were definitely strong candidates in the Rust Belt. Trump, you have to give him credit. He flipped basically the entire Rust Belt in 2016. I mean, look at the 2012 map. The only red state in the Rust Belt was Indiana. 2008 even, I mean, there were no red states in the Rust Belt. This was all Obama. This was all blue. But 2016, it basically went all red, with the exception of Illinois, with Chicago and Minnesota, which has a huge Democratic voting record. So definitely Donald Trump does well here, but Joe Biden was managed to flip it back, and now it's more democratically controlled than Republicans. So this gives Kamala Harris 290 electoral votes, winning the 2024 presidential election, to Ron DeSantis at 248, and that is the matchup between the two most likely candidates for the 2024 GOP nomination. Kamala Harris with 39 cents per share to Ron DeSantis at 23. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. Like this video down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below who you think will win between Kamala Harris and Ron DeSantis, and what the margin you think would be. Subscribe to our channel if you have not. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.